The Tales of James Watson, Book 1, Digging. Prologue. Gone was yet another vital part of his life, but this time it was his fault. He had let it slip from his grasp. It was this, and the idea of how much his boss scared him, that drove him out into the woods armed with just a simple flashlight, clearly low on battery in the cold, eerie night. There were others with him, but he had no clue of what their names were. As in the business, he had learnt not to ask too many questions. All he knew was that it was really their torches that lit the way for him and not his own. The man's name was Levi, and usually, if you'd have met him in the street in passing, you would think him quite a respectable man. Well groomed, up to date with the latest fashion, and a massive hit with the girls. Tonight, however, you would be tempted to just stay out of his way. He had a crazed look about him, that of a man who had perhaps lost something, and knew that if it was not returned, then he would be in deep trouble, much like a child searching for his house key. Levi was left in charge of a thing of vital importance by his boss, which was unwise in itself, as he should have known that, however unorganized and trustworthy he seemed, the organized part of him clearly covered for a part that wasn't there. Levi was certainly not organized. As he ran, his mind thought about the room where he stood guard over that steel briefcase. On the outside it looked like one of those things you'd expect to see a poker set in. This particular case had nothing of the sort, and all most people knew of it was that the contents were confidential. There were possibly only 4 people who knew what was inside, and no one dared ask them, as they had the power over most of the jobs at that particular establishment. Where Levi worked was simply a government facility specializing in anything you could find to do with chemical sciences, although, in Levi's mind, there was something much more secret going on deep within the building. But in his job he had learned to keep his mouth shut about things he didn't understand. This was why he was often chosen for the important tasks. This particular night, as he guarded the door, he saw a shadow move swiftly across the wall. At first he thought of it as nothing, a simple shadow. It was when he turned round that his blood turned to ice water, and he found that he was wrong. He saw a figure, taller than himself, dressed in all black, a balaclava covering most of his face. Levi hardly saw this part of the intruder, he only noticed the gun pointing at his head. "Open the door," he demanded in harsh tones. And Levi was quick to oblige, not thinking of the consequences at this point. The figure ran in, picked up the case, and just as quickly ran out and disappeared. Levi pressed one of the alarms on the far wall, but it was too late. The next thing he could remember was running. Running as fast as he could into the unknown, knowing that if he didn't succeed in catching the thief, it would be his life on the line. This was no exaggeration. So here he was, running. He was so tired, but it was almost as if the lights behind him urged him on. It didn't feel like a search at all, not even a pursuit, more like a hunt. Then by mere chance his torch flickered over something left on a large oak. It was the balaclava. Why was this thief leaving clues? Was he playing some sort of game? Levi didn't know, nor did he care to know, but he pressed on because he had to. He saw something ahead by the lake, but it looked like... no. Levi felt himself gathering speed as he realized what it was lying down in the mud, head to one side, impaled on a jagged rock. It was the thief, a young, long-haired youth, lying there, as if stunned, with a tight grasp on the silver case next to him. Levi was strong, so he certainly didn't let this corpse beat him in strength. He felt as he pried over the man's fingers, he was proving something. As he looked back, he realized why this was. 2 of the people with torches were women. He smiled to himself for a split second, then dragged the case away from the body. As he turned, he saw one of the men standing more forward of the others. Gesture to the case. "You want me to open this?" Levi asked. The man, wearing a red scarf, which was easily distinguishable in the moonlight, pointed more insistently at the case. Levi stared for a moment, shrugged, and then flipped the catches. He slowly opened the case, and as he did so he felt his face start to glow. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Something so simple, and yet so valuable. It was like liquid, but it seemed to shine. Levi felt as if nothing else mattered right now. He turned round to face his co-workers with a large grin on his face. He had little time to think that this was the last expression ever to cross his face. The man with the scarf raised a small pistol which seemed to emerge out of the dark. Fired one quick shot. Then there was silence. A golden silence for a few months, and then more things happened resembling that instant. This is that story.